Hi, everybody. Welcome to the all new Empower channel. My name is Brent Carey, and I'm really excited to be joined by a good friend and longtime host on Empower when we were an online radio network and podcast network, Bonnie Wirth. Welcome back. It is so good to see
Hi.
you again.
Oh my gosh, Brent, I am so thrilled to be here. This is very exciting. I love the chance not only to reconnect and chat with you today, but of course, what you've got going on here with the new Empower channel. This is really exciting stuff.
Well, it's a fun day because I wanted to talk to you about a lot of different things, but we're going to try to. We were just talking offline. It's like I could talk to you for 2 or 3 hours, but we're not going to do that today.
Right.
Um, but we're in the middle of a transformation here at Empower,
Mhm.
and one step at a time, and focusing more now on video and our community and reconnecting with people and that includes some people who have been a big part of the network in the past. And it's really great to have you here. Before we get going, I do want to invite everybody to go over to YouTube and like and subscribe to our channel if you
Yes.
haven't done that yet. We are very close to having 1,000 followers on
Amazing.
YouTube, and over 15 years, you will find hundreds of videos already there on our YouTube page, and we're trying to cross that 1,000 person mark there on YouTube. So be sure to do that. If you're not connected with us on Facebook, by all means do that. We're also streaming on Twitter or X today. So we have a lot of different places where you can find us, and the temporary website at theempowerchannel.com. And Bonnie, I do want to really, before we get going today, I want to share with everybody something that was so exciting for me to see. It was kind of a surprise, and you got to tell me, how did this happen? Bonnie Wirth in Times Square.
I know. Who would ever have thought, Brent? I know this was an absolute thrill of a lifetime for me. A couple of years ago, I was selected as one of 6 women making a positive difference in America through Close Up Media in partnership with NBC, and this was one of the showcase moments that they had in for me, and really helping to get my work out in the world. Obviously, I am a medium, but I have really evolved, and we're talking about resilience and transformation and change. And so over the years of dedicating in service and using my capacities, I've really moved into supporting and helping for transformation of trauma, of being able to rediscover a deeper sense of resilience and utilizing the connection to the non-physical world and helping people to really expedite and make phenomenal change in their life. So that's what landed me there. It was a very exciting time, and yeah, it's been a beautiful unfolding of purpose through over what is over. Oh my gosh, I'm celebrating 15 years of doing this work professionally, and so to have that, that really was a career highlight for me.
Oh, it's really exciting. That's what a
Yeah,
cool moment. And
yeah,
by all means, please connect with Bonnie too at her website. And also, you have a community there, which we'll talk a
I
little bit more
do.
about coming up. But
Sounds
Bonnie
good.
has a lot going on right now, and we talked about transformation. We're doing the transformation here. You've had a transformation in your work, as
Yes.
you mentioned. Right now, what got you started on this
Oh.
path? Because people who are not familiar with your work, what got you started doing the work you do?
Yeah, it's really interesting how that played out and evolved. I had hit a personal crisis in my own life, and that personal crisis came from, just an onset of what had been trauma in my life, where I basically got to this point in time where I just needed. I prayed for guidance, I prayed for help. I couldn't continue living my life the way I had been. I was, did this ultimate prayer, which I call a prayer of absolute surrender, where I pleaded with God and I just said, God, either take me from this life or make everything that I have lived through mean something. And so it was after that that I I started, the universe really responded. It was, circumstances, events, people started coming forward that really put me forward on a journey of holistic and alternative healing for my trauma. And it was through that as I started to feel better and I started to regain a sense of solid foundation in my life, really starting to experience the relief, the joy, and to recognize my own co-creative power with the universe, that my connection to the spirit world just continued to increase and increase and increase. And it actually wasn't until the death of my husband's best friend, where he basically pushed me from the other side to step forward and to start helping people. But that help came first of just being available and supportive to his wife for that first year following his death. And it was after the phenomenal transformation that I began to witness and I began to see play out from her willingness to receive the messages, receive the healing, the help that he was looking to bring forward to her, that I realized that this indeed could really impact and really help other people as well. So I became very passionate about this. I became very passionate right from the beginning of my career. I wanted to change the conversations about mediumship, about psychics, all of the fear-based consciousness that exists about it. I look at, when I overlook at my career, has always been in the forefront of helping to change people's minds and helping them to recognize that through God, all things are indeed possible.
Did you have a sense that you were psychic or you were a medium before all of this happened?
Yeah, I had been playing with the spirit world my whole life. I was
Mhm.
I was the weird kid. I had imaginary friends, and I would often, share messages or things where my mom would even say, like, Bonnie, you have to stop saying those things to people. They're gonna, that's not appropriate. They're gonna think you're crazy. All of those things. So it was never. I was raised in Catholicism, and so it wasn't something that was vastly accepted. And in fact, there was more, I want to say, people praying for my soul in terms of what I was experiencing than what they were helping me to nurture my connection with my higher power. So for me, this was, it's always been an interplay between the physical and non-physical world. But it wasn't until after I hit my personal crises in my life where I started to recognize that these abilities to connect with the unseen world are a part of something that was decided for me before I was even born. It's like God did not make a mistake the day I was born. I don't have these capacities simply because I'm evil or something, or it's something to be feared, but it's actually something to be revered and something to be honored. And so it took me through my healing journey to get into that deep place of self-acceptance, being able to accept and appreciate all facets of who I am, being able to go into a deep acceptance of myself, and my own inherent worthiness has also been to fully accept this part of me, to fully embrace this part of me, because I mean, I have to. Wherever I go, there I am. I can't run away from myself. And this has always been a part of who I am. So I've learned how to bring it into the forefront of my life. And I live from a place of what is, I think even when we look at holistic healing, or we hear about the scope of holistic work, there's a focus on mind, body, and spirit. But what I've come to discover is that, it's when it's spirit led, when we're nurturing our spirit inside of us, the mind and the body just naturally follow in the direction of wellness from there. So we need to, it's just in recognizing that we have available to us all kinds of ways and means in which to enrich our life, in which to heal, in which to discover a real authentic resilience inside of ourselves that's beyond what is an innate tendency that we all have within our own human condition, to be strong, to suck it up, to get over it, to move forward. That's how I spent the majority of my life. The majority of my life, I suppressed it. I ignored it. If I wasn't paying attention and dealing with it, it means it was going to go away. But what happened is that it doesn't. And eventually, it starts to surface. It started to come up for me. It started to, where I needed to face the very things that had happened to me in my past, in order to move forward and in order for that very prayer that I prayed and to be answered.
Boy, and when you talk about the dark night of the soul like that,
Mm.
that you shared, and appreciate you sharing that is a powerful place of transformation that
Yes.
so many people have dealt with. It looks different for everybody, but to be at that place, that's powerful. And
Mhm.
that's where you're doing a lot of work. And when you talk about stuffing those feelings down, not dealing with it, it'll go away. How does that manifest
Oh.
for people? I mean, there are a lot of different ways, but what are some
Oh.
common ways?
Total, it's such a great question, Brent, because when we understand that our spirit is ever looking for expression and expansion, and if we are not in an expression and an expansion, then we are in disintegration, which means we are into suppression and into disintegration. And so what happens there is a lot of, emotion, of course, the emotional imbalances that begin to take place. There can be, I even for myself, I was suicidal. I really was wanting to end my life, take my life, severe depression, the inability to function and to cope with, just day to day responsibilities in life. But it also can have a physical manifestation. So when we're looking at understanding that emotions are energy and motion, and if we are not expressing that energy in some way, then we are suppressing that energy inside of our body. And our body can only hold it for so long. And eventually, just like for myself, I was having liver issues, I was having all kinds of physical ailments and things starting to manifest as a result of me suppressing and denying the very things, the pain and the suffering that had occurred in my life. And so part of my healing in being able to do that deeper work was also because my body was this massive messenger that was screaming at me that if I didn't make some sort of new choices for myself, if I didn't do something, I, one, probably wouldn't have gotten out of bed, or two, would probably not be here, just simply because, it was already starting with that dis-ease inside of my body. And so much, when we understand our physical bodies and our illnesses, the tensions, the stresses that we are dealing with get stored into the cells of our body. Our trauma gets stored in the cells of our body. And if we are not willing to face it with compassion, it can't be confronted, it needs to be faced with compassion, it needs to be felt, it needs to be witnessed, and it needs to be healed. And when we can do that, now we begin to express it instead of suppressing, and we can begin to claim our physical health over again. But I mean, it shows up in our relationship with ourselves and the relationship with others. In terms of our ability to uphold our jobs and sustain our livelihoods, it affects every facet of our life.
And when you talk about having it stored in your body, I think that probably resonates with a lot of people too, because like my back problems are just getting worse, or these different things that pop up in your body. A lot of this stuff, whether we realize it or not, is stored there. And
Yeah.
how does that get released? I mean, we do, you hear about people like even doing yoga, certain poses, and you're releasing things on the mat. You hear about these
Yes.
different things, but it's not just a saying. It's actually real. So how do you start to
Mm.
release those?
Well, we have to look at understanding that our bodies, our physical bodies, are built to move. And so when we can allow ourselves with an intention to begin to, just through a prayer and intention and asking that we are focusing on moving our body to release and begin to move some of the energy that has been blocked or held in our systems. We look at the many different healing modalities that are available through the different, whether it be through some of the things that, I've been trained in, even where it is, through theta healing, through IET, through EFT, looking at all of these things that help and support the release of this emotional container that we've been holding and storing in our cells. And, everything from, massages to yoga, meditation was such a healing modality for me, simply because it allowed for me to begin to regulate my nervous system, that when I was able to self-soothe in a way, even, and of course, somatic aspects of that also are beneficial, but meditation was a way that I could calm my nervous system. I was beginning to alleviate some of the pent up stress and the anxiety, the pain and suffering that was there. And meditation first is the practice that began to release what was stored in my organs, that began to make space for the healing to take place. So for anyone that's looking, and starting out, I'm a huge meditation advocate, because not only does it support the physical body, but it allows for us to find a sense of self, or we could say even an alignment with our higher power, when we give ourselves the presence, the time, and most people say, I don't have time to meditate. I can't stop my thoughts when I'm meditating, all of these things, they give up very quickly with it. And yet that's everything that meditation's about. It's the opportunity for us to be with ourselves, to go within and to see what's there, and to be with what's there, regardless of whether we're experiencing some form of euphoria or heightened sense of consciousness. It's the willingness to just be present with oneself.
Did that meditation practice that you implemented also help with your connection to spirit and increase your mediumistic abilities?
Absolutely. And, even in my programs, I do a lot of mediumship mentoring for mediumship and psychic development and things like that. And meditation is at the foundation of it, because we need to be able to create a stillness inside of us to really be able to hear and to listen to what is being relayed from the non-physical world. Very often people will say, I'm not hearing my guides. I'm not hearing my loved ones. I'm not sure if I'm a medium. I'm not connecting. Well, the truth is you are connecting, but we need to get comfortable in stillness. We need to create stillness so that we can really begin to hear the whispers and that connection. And so that's an important piece of it. But for me, yes, when I meditated, meditation was helping to alleviate some of the pent up emotional energy, and to understand that our emotional body is the very thing that dictates our vibration or dictates our energy field. So again, when we're in a higher vibration, when we're experiencing more peace, more ease, more moments of happiness and stillness and calm, that it increases our vibration, and our vibration begins to raise. And when our vibration begins to raise, that's when we start to connect with our guides. We start becoming into presence with the non-physical world. And so for me, it absolutely did. It's the very thing that began to open up the gateway for me to begin to not only be aware of the spirit world, but to begin to have some really deep, meaningful conversations. And it was actually through my time in meditation where I began to do a process which is called automatic writing, where I began to write, and I would be receiving guidance from these higher beings of consciousness, my angels, my loved ones on the other side, who are wanting to help me, and who actually every single day would give me the steps to take, what it was that I needed to heal or shift, how I needed to change my mindset, what action I could take in order to help and support my healing. And it was through meditation that access point or that opening or pathway became even more possible than what I had ever experienced it with the spirit world through my whole life and growing up.
Automatic writing is so interesting. I could
It's
talk
so
to you,
powerful.
we could go down that rabbit hole for
Totally. Oh my
time.
gosh. I have
It is really
journals
interesting.
and journals. Yes.
Yeah, and if you're watching us live, it'd be great to hear from you. Feel free to comment.
Yeah.
If you have a question for Bonnie, you can jump in there too.
Yeah. So good.
We have people joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and
So
X. So
good.
it's great to have everybody here today. When you're talking about the meditation practice, or some of the things about just simply moving your body and moving around, these are part of the transformation, because
Yes.
you're doing something different. Talk a little
Yes.
bit about, transformation looks different for different people, but it is a process.
Yep, absolutely it is. And I love that. I love that, this is about finding what works for each of us, what most supports our own self based on our belief systems, what we can really relate to and what we feel good doing. I mean, ultimately, it's about finding practices and things that help you to feel good. And there's no right or wrong way. I think the key thing is to know that one, we can't rush our healing process. And so we need to just allow for it to be a gradual step by step process. And so we find things that we can become committed to, where we can commit to doing a gratitude journal. We can commit to doing some yoga stretches. We can commit to meditation. We need to find things that we can commit to that help us to feel good. And then as a result, the transformation automatically begins to take place. It's not like we set out with this decision that I'm going to transform my life, but it is the multitude of choices that we make that lead to the transformation. We have been given creative faculties. We have the absolute ability to express and create for our lives. And so when we look and understand that we do have a say, and that through our conscious choices that we're making are the very things that lead to transformation. But we must be a willing participant in our life in order for transformation to happen. Otherwise, we get stuck. We're in a cycle. Nothing seems to be going forward. We're repeating the old habits, the old behaviors, the old paradigms. We get almost in a state of self-sabotage from not being able to choose differently. And one of my mentors many years ago said that if you want to change the results that you are getting with your life, you need to start changing what you've been doing. And so for me, that was key, because I had never meditated before. I had never practiced yoga before. I had never, done any energy healing or anything prior. And so as I said, it was just this knowing that I was committed. I was committed to feeling better. And that's ultimately and so I just found the things that help to support and do that. Gratitude, and I mentioned that earlier, gratitude is such it's, and not intellectual gratitude. I think there's a big difference when we look at gratitude practices. Intellectual gratitude doesn't really necessarily do anything. It helps us to have a more positive mindset. We can, begin to think more positively. However, when we look and understand, when we get emotionally involved, when we can really fall into writing or expressing the things that we truly are appreciative for, that begins to create this energy that begins to become a catalyst for change and transformation in our life. Because when we start with an emotional connection to what we appreciate continues to increase around us. And so we can't help. Gratitude creates a natural shift in vibration, and can be the very thing that begins to create incredible transformation in our lives. But we need to be the willing participant. We need to start with finding what it is that we're grateful for. And that was key for me as well. I needed to really get into looking at what my blessings were in my life instead of everything that was broken or going wrong.
Yeah, there's a reason why people talk about gratitude journals so often. They work.
Yes, they
It's a
do.
powerful tool,
Mm-hmm.
and I like what you said too about just not just the intellectual exercise of, oh yeah, I'm grateful for this and that, but actually going deeper,
Yes.
and whether it's writing it down or embracing it with a feeling. It's really important.
Yeah, it's so important that we get emotionally involved with the change that we're looking to make in our lives. And it's through these little, like, here, a gratitude journal. Gratitude journal can create the biggest most profound transformation in someone's life. So it really is the conscious choice to do things that we've never done before, and then transformation begins to happen organically as a result.
I want to go back to something you mentioned a few minutes ago, because I thought it was, I think it's very relatable. And I have heard so many times over the past 4 years about people commenting, since the pandemic, everything's been a blur. Has it really been 4 years ago where the sense of time
Hmm.
seems to have shifted, and everything is just kind of this one continuum? And, a lot of people I think are feeling stuck in that sense, where the past 4 years have been a blur in a lot of regards for many people. So, what changing things up, making a shift, um, whether, you've mentioned a few things, but what can people do to take a little bit more control over that feeling, and break free from that sense of sameness and, the changes that have happened in the past 4 years?
I think that's such a great question. And I think we can look at, when we understand time does seem to be on its own continuum. And the invitations in it is, one, I think with the pandemic, the things that are happening with the war in the world, we're facing our own mortality in a way that we've never maybe paid attention before. And so because of it, we've become very aware of what am I doing with my life? How am I living my life? What changes do we need to make? And so it's because of it where time almost seems to be, ticking away, so to speak. One of the way that the universe is really inviting us to begin to make those conscious choices and start to take some steps forward in a new direction, or in how, and being participatory in how it is we would like our life to actually go or turn out, or what is our legacy, what is our purpose. More and more people are asking that at this point in time than ever before. So when we look at, how do you begin to implement these small things into your life? Well, answer here is really simple. Add it into your calendar. Make it a priority for yourself. That I always encourage the people that coach with me is to make a list of what I call non-negotiables, 10 things that that help to lift your spirit, that help to light you up, that help you to feel better, 10 things that you enjoy doing. And then what you do is every single day, you just choose something from that list. It's not like you need to do all 10 things, but just start to choose one or two of those things from your list in order to begin to take and express some effort forward to be that change in your life. And so that's really powerful. We have technology. I mean, God bless our technology. We can set alerts and memos and things for ourselves to remind us, hey, what? It's time to meditate. It's time for a gratitude, so that we are staying. It's like, even in terms of our vitamins and our nutrients and our minerals, we need to really be taking care of our physical bodies to support the inner work and transformation. Without our health, we don't have anything. And so even looking at using technology as a way and means to set the reminders, and so that you are a backup plan, so that you're not forgetting, you're not avoiding yourself, you're not running away. But here again, it really comes into the fact of needing to know at your core that you are worthy of being healthy, that you are worthy of being happy, that you are worthy of the good that is seeking to come into your life too.
And I think back to your the title of your podcast that you did for so long, and it was Lighten Up.
Right.
And I loved that name and that approach. Sometimes that's just a reminder for
Yes.
yourself. Lighten up. There's a lot going on in the world.
Yes.
And trying to shift a mindset to something more positive, and that comes into that resilience piece, because it's like, you know what, it's going to be okay. The mental approach to that. How does that come into your work with resilience?
Oh, you know what? Thank you for asking, because this is, we all have an innate resilience in us. We all have a natural way in which to move forward and overcome things. But what happens is that over time, that natural ability for resilience becomes like a coping mechanism, where we need to suck it up. We need to get over it. It's time to move on. We begin to dismiss and deny the impact of the experiences that we've had. And that's where that emotional suppression comes from, because this natural resilience, if we're not paying attention to our needs and taking care of ourselves and prioritizing our wellness, then it becomes a coping mechanism. But in order for resilience to become something much more profound, and what will allow for instrumental and what would be stabilizing change and transformation in our life, it comes back to really honoring ourselves, taking action towards those steps, whether on the non-negotiables, the the choices that we're making for ourselves that support our wellness, that we begin to cultivate a much more authentic resilience. And when that is structured at the core of us, when we again are participating in cultivating a stronger sense of resilience because we've come to know ourselves, we've come to understand our worthiness, that we've been doing the deeper and more important work in our lives of that inner world, that we begin to create a sustainable future. It's not just moments of happiness that seem to come and go, but it becomes a life that is filled with joy, a life that becomes, not just fleeting moments of the things that we've been looking to experience and live in our lives, but it becomes our way of living and being.
Yeah, and that's core to your work. And I
Yeah.
want to share a
Yeah.
little bit about what you have going on right now, because
Yes.
if somebody wants to go deeper into something like this, you have a few things going on right now. So
A few things going on.
we'll go over here. So by the
Super.
way, if you're not following Bonnie yet on Facebook, be sure to do that. You have an
Yes.
online workshop. You have a series this week, correct?
Oh my gosh, I absolutely do. Thank you for bringing it up. I have every year I do a free online interview series. It's called A Medium's World, and it's about helping to demystify the beliefs and fears around mediumship, around spirit communication, and really helping so many people who, like myself, have these abilities to connect with the invisible world. It's in helping to support a community, or create a community of support so that they can feel, empowered in terms of going forward and doing this work that they feel so deeply called to do in the world. And it gives them a platform to begin to discuss their experiences. And honestly, this is the third year that I've been running this, and so many people are just like are thanking me for this, because it's really helped so many of them to know that that there's nothing weird or wrong with them, and that there is a community of people who live life in this way. And this is, I'm about unity, I'm about bringing people together. I want to create connection not only with the physical and non-physical world, but really in creating a community so everyone feels seen and heard and valued and appreciated for the unique and diverse ways that we are in society.
We have some great people lined up, and
Yeah,
I know it's already underway, but there are
it
still some
is.
great conversations coming up later this week. Uh,
Yes.
so yeah, gosh, I see Sunny Dawn Johnson coming up, and some other people that you've worked with for years, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've known Sunny actually years ago, even before my podcast with Empower. I had another podcast, and Sunny has been she's came to one of the retreats I was facilitating in Sedona. That's when I first met her. I had her as an interview guest on several of my shows, and I think I even had her on as a guest during my time at Empower. And I've known her for many, many years, and so I really adore her, the work that she does, her heart, her love that she has to share. Carlin Ray is a dear friend and colleague of mine, and she's someone else who has really showed up in the world. I mean, she's been working in the industry for 30 years and has seen everything transform and evolve in terms of people coming forward, and she brings such expertise to the table. Sean Leonard, I've never worked with him directly. I happened to be introduced to him through some of the work that he does at Hay House, and I had the opportunity to witness Sean and John Holland on stage doing a tandem group event in readings, and was just amazed at his ability as well. And so he's one of our Canadian favorites here. He has
That's great.
a television show on APTN and has been doing this work for several years as well. So I'm really excited to bring them. I'm doing spotlight interviews as a part of this series before. I like to highlight people who have taken training with me, who I've come to know, and I want to give them a platform so that they begin to become discovered, and then to have the chance to bring these people on board who are doing some incredible work in the world is very, very exciting to me.
Well, it's quite a lineup, Bonnie.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very, very exciting. And you've got your own community. I do want to
I
mention
do.
it's Bonnie
Absolutely.
Wirth Global. So
Yeah.
we can connect through everything that you're doing. via your website,
You
correct?
bet.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you can just go to my website, bonniewirth.ca. On there, you can sign up to be a part of course, my newsletter, weekly newsletter that comes out. But here is where you'll also have access to Bonnie Wirth Global. The invitation will be there for you to join, and it's a real beautiful place. It's off. I love what I love most about it. God bless social media for everything it provides. It's such a great forum to be able to connect with people around the world, and this just allows us the privilege of being off social media so that we can feel more safe and secure in our conversations and in our community. And so it's a growing community. When you talk about transformation, I just launched my community this past January because I was getting guidance and invitations to create more opportunity for people to find each other in the world, and to find a safe place in the world. And so that's what my community is all about.
Oh, that's perfect. And we have the same mission here,
We
and that's
do.
what the all new version of Empower is all about too. We really
Yeah.
want to foster community and have conversations like this because they're
Yes.
really helpful. And there's a lot going on in the world, in people's lives. It's that time of transformation and change, and it's important to be able to connect with other people and talk about it and share ideas
Yeah.
and ways to move through it in a positive way.
Right.
And boy, it's so good to reconnect with
I
you,
know. I feel the same
Bonnie. And
way.
I hope we'll see more of you. I hope we can have you
Oh,
back.
yeah, absolutely. It would be my
Okay.
privilege.
All right. And Bonnie also has a YouTube channel too, which by all
Yeah.
means, follow her on YouTube. And if you're just joining us, by all means, like and subscribe to the Empower channel on YouTube. Help us get across that 1,000 mark, and share it with your friends too. We really appreciate that. Bonnie Wirth, it has been
Oh my
fantastic
gosh.
to talk to you today.
So great, Brent. I just adore you. And I love what your mission and purpose is in this lifetime, too. Thank you for all the work you do in helping to let people know that there are alternatives and that there are good people like you in the world.
We will talk again soon, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, everyone.